Hello, and welcome back to the God the Artist podcast. I'm your host, Morgan McCarver, and today we have special guest Chris Coate. Thank you so much for joining me. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Close enough.
Close
Choate.
enough.
Yeah, I've heard of
Chris
it.
Choate. Okay. Awesome. And you are quite an accomplished man. You have written several books, and you were in the Air Force, and you love long distance running. What is long distance running? How long is long distance?
That's the first person to ask me that. I would say probably 10 miles. Half marathon being 13.1. So I'd say anything over 10 would be I would consider long distance.
Yeah, I definitely would. That's very impressive. Awesome. How did you get into long distance running?
Well, it's a long story. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I was in a joint unit. I was the deputy commander. Joint means every service in the U.S. is Air Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force. We're stationed outside of Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Marathon was coming up, and every service in our little organization of about 60 of us was running the half marathon, except for the Air Force. And I was a senior Air Force guy, so I was catching a lot of ridicule for it. And so I was like, I figured it out and sign me up. I'm going to run this one half marathon. I was not a big fan of running at the time. I was about 42 years old. I'd never really loved running. Um, but so I'm going to run this. I'm going to save the honor of the Air Force here, and that'll be it. And I got hooked. I would explain it if I could, but it's hard to explain something you don't understand. So
No, that's fair. I've heard of a running high.
it is.
Personally, I have never I've never experienced joy while running, but I'm not a very sporty person. But
I'm with you, and I don't. I again, I would explain why if I could, but I can't. No.
yeah. Well, let's start at the beginning then. How did you first discover that you were a creative person, either being an author or in other ways?
Um, okay. Well, that's another good question. I start back probably junior high school. I had a world-class chorus teacher, and she was fabulous, just simply fabulous. I was the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz in junior high, and she put on some wonder. I mean, it was much higher quality than you expect from middle school, junior high. I tell people I was stationed at the Pentagon, and I like to tell this story that I had to brief the what's called the Air Force Council, and it's every general in the Air Force minus the chief of staff, the one who's in charge. But so I'm sitting up here. I'm a major. I'm not that. I'm probably in my 30s, and I'm looking out at my audience here. And it's like looking at the night sky because all I see is stars staring at me. So it was quite intimidating. And I remember thinking to myself, if you could sing, if I only have a heart, when you're like 12, 13 years old, like going through puberty. If you can sing that in front of about 600 people, I can brief a few generals. So, but anyway, she was wonderful, and she got me into the creative side that, normally that age, you're kind of, particularly guys, we're a little reserved and don't want to be singing like, singing or whatever. But she was wonderful. She got us into it. She sang at our wedding years later, and we
Mm.
stayed dear friends with her until she passed away just a couple of years ago. And just a fabulous lady and a husband. And the book, by the way, is dedicated to her and another couple.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, teachers can make such a difference. Like their excitement makes
Absolutely.
us excited, you know?
Absolutely.
Um,
The world is so much a better place because she was a teacher. I mean, there are
aw,
hundreds of thousands of people in our country that owe her a debt of gratitude.
wow, that's
Leah Sims,
beautiful.
if I can say her name, Murfreesboro, Illinois. Leah Sims, wonderful lady.
Oh, what a legacy. Yeah. So, you said the book is dedicated to her. Tell us a little bit about the book.
The book that started with back to the creative side. I early when the computers first came out. You were probably too young to remember, but when everybody owned a personal computer, I started writing Christmas newsletters. This is like early '90s, and I had a lot of people that no good deed goes unpunished. I'll throw that out. And I would write them, and I tried to write them humorous, entertaining, just not some boring letter. And I kept getting feedback from my family that, oh, so and so looks so forward to your letter. So I had pressure to keep making them better, if you will. So anyway, some dear friends, the other ones the book's dedicated to, Dr. Ballesteros, both of them, Dr. Mr. and Mrs. were both doctors. They told me I had to write someday, and I promised them I would. And when I got out of the Air Force, I finally I did. Um, and this is a political satire. It's a space opera political satire, and I know that's not the focus of your podcast here, so I won't go too much. But it was 2020, COVID. We things obviously not the best year in the world, and a mob in Portland tore down a statue of President Lincoln. And I was thinking, he's our greatest president we have, maybe second greatest, depending on the historians, but definitely one or two. And I was thinking, well, if we were doing that today, where will we be 80 years from now? And I, in the Pentagon, did strategic planning, so I have a little bit of background in how you kind of forecast out and build scenarios of the future. That's kind of what we did, and that's what I designed here was a scenario that I called unhinged. And it's just if we become so embarrassed of our country and we get wrapped up in identity politics, if this went to the absurd, where it would be. And that's kind of where the book starts. So it's political satire, way out there. And I don't know if are you familiar with the Voyager probe at all?
Just by name, that's give us a background.
Understandable, but there's and you have to read the book, get the whole story here. But there's a plaque, and the plaque has a male and a female on it. And in this world I have created, where we are obsessed with identity politics and ashamed of our past, that is unacceptable. So we launch a spaceship. It'll be the first to leave the solar system, to track down Voyager, so we can replace this plaque. It has two genders. It's put all 101 approved genders, and we put sexual orientations on there while we're at it. So we're wanting to replace that because we can't allow our legacy to be stained forever by having this bigoted plaque sail off into the cosmos. And that's kind of the satire, the political satire of it. I know that's not the focus of your podcast.
No, no, but it's very interesting. How do you like broach a topic like space? How do you think about that kind of thing that really like we aren't, I mean, I guess there have been some pleasure space trips depending on who you ask, but for the most part, that's still in the future for us. So how do you,
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like flying. My great grandmother was born in 1890. She passed away in 1990, right at 100.
Wow.
When she was born in 1890, our transportation was not much different than it was from biblical times. The train was just coming out, but 30, 40 miles an hour was about as fast as you could go when she was born, and that's been that way pretty much since the dawn of civilization. And when she died, we had already walked on the moon. And so you take us out another 100 years, we'll be on the moon. We might have people on Mars if Elon Musk gets his way. We'll have people on Mars, I should say. But it's coming. And it's science fiction to us. But 100 years from now, I don't think it will be.
Hmm. Yeah, science fiction is so fascinating. Are you drawn from any, like, are you taking any notes from any science fiction that's already out there, or are you kind of like starting from the beginning and this is a completely new world?
Uh, I call the book science fiction light because I don't go into a lot of details because I'm leaving it again at kind of the political satire. And I also the book has a artificial intelligence entity. He is the based off the intellect of the protagonist's great grandfather. He was a computer scientist, and he is from the 20th century, basically our time right now. So, and it allows me to bring in a lot of satire and a lot of 60s Star Trek. If you're a Star Trek fan, particularly the original series, there's a lot of that. I pull a lot of that into there. So it's based off existing sci-fi. I don't really do anything heavy or deep or other than this artificial intelligence agency, which is again just his great grandfather. And so it brings in a way to bring in 20th century, 21st century common sense to this unhinged world of the 22nd century that I've written it in.
Yeah, that's really fascinating to think like the AI is giving you like past wisdom because I think we always, or at least I always think about it like, what can it do in the future or what can it think of that I haven't thought of yet? But really bringing it back to kind of being like a Old Testament prophet of let me speak into what, what we know is true kind of thing. That's a really interesting take on that.
I have embedded. It's not a Christian book, and I tell everybody I talk to that it's not written for the choir. I didn't write a Christian book, but it does have an embedded Christian message in it that I really like. It has a Christian message in it, and then it also has Christian fiction, which is like you just kind of said, the prophet. He evolves, and it goes into some Christian fiction that I really liked. I enjoyed writing it. I didn't know I was going to write it when I started, but it worked out very well, and I like to think I was kind of guided that way because it came up with some ideas that I don't think I would have came up with on my own. But,
Yeah, that's beautiful. The Holy Spirit coming in. How do you merge that, your faith and your book? Where did that first start, and then how did you navigate it once you realized you were going to combine the two?
that I did not know up front I was going to do it. I was writing this political satire, and I reached a point where the protagonist is kind of the climax of the thing. He's facing a life and death sentence. There's a group of Christians on the ship that are illegal. Christianity in this world is quasi illegal. And the Chinese have informed him of it. And there's a social justice officer. You probably don't remember the Soviet Union very well, but they had political officers on their ships and in their military. Well, this social justice officer is kind of like that. He's like a political officer and also like combined with like the religious police of the Taliban, excuse me. So he's not a very nice guy, but he's very rigid social justice, and he has my protagonist is basically going to blow him out into space, going to kill him, and he's going to kill him with this group of Christians. And the protagonist, whose family was Christian, but he wasn't. And again, I just kind of, as I was writing this, that's where I kind of got the idea of bringing the Christians in as the catalyst for all this to kind of happen. And then I have Penn, who's not a Christian, with them, and they tell him of the thief of the cross, and they are able to bring that into the book. And then he becomes saved, and he becomes a Christian on the spot, and it goes from there. That's the Christian part of the book. I got a little more in there. I got Joshua, the sun standing still, and the part of the little bit of fiction later, and some Christian fiction with this AI entity later on. But now that's pure fiction. But I was able to bring the thief and the cross in, and that was a wonderful story. And I carry that to the very end. He's basically tasked by the thief in the fiction part to go back and tell the story of the thief on the cross.
Mm, wow, that's really interesting. Such a completely different take on all of this than I've ever heard before.
Mhm.
Your book has been published
Yes, it.
already. Yes?
No,
Okay.
January.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's
Um,
quite. You're an author too, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Writing's easy. It's getting the book out, isn't it?
Oh yeah, tell me about it. You think, oh, I've done the hard part of getting the manuscript finished, and then all the hard stuff actually comes after
Yeah.
after that.
I.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. And how somebody wrote a book without a word processor, I'll never know. But you say the manufacture, the publishing, the distribution. Well, that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how has your book been received so far?
The reviews so far have been great. I haven't got many. Uh, Mainly the people that kind of knew about were coming out. It's been very favorable, but I haven't really got a lot of reviews yet at this point. But so far, everybody that's read it seems to be quite happy with it. So,
Awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, I've found as an author and as an artist, it's interesting to be a Christian in this world and kind of
Mm,
navigate between, you're kind of jumping between, well, it's not real, I'm not doing sappy Christian stuff,
mm.
but I'm not doing worldly secular stuff either. How do you navigate that, or have you experienced that in your own kind of situation?
I did with this book because he's not a Christian. So, and again, it's not a Christian book. I tell people that. And so his first part, I don't. It's PG-13. I kept it PG-13. I didn't want to write anything beyond that. I just would have been comfortable writing beyond that. But then afterwards, when he becomes a Christian, I don't dwell in it a whole lot, but you can see some changes in his behavior and things like that. But beforehand, he's not a Christian, so again, it's kind of wide open. But again, afterwards, I try to make sure that you can see kind of a change in his life. But again, it's more political satire, so I hit the the Christian part. The Christian Science comes in at the very end. I have a Christian message that he tells a group of people at the end that again he was told to tell when he had this supernatural meeting I say he doesn't go to heaven, but he sees like the entrance to heaven.
Mm,
That all revolves around Pop, who evolves this AI based off of his human intellect. He's evolving for a very reason, trying to save the ship, and he becomes aware of his internal self, internal self. Excuse me, I said that wrong. And that's the kind of the whole supernatural part there that's going to kind of bring into it.
hmm How have you experienced like your faith, Christianity in the Air Force?
Ah, it's a lot of Christians in the Air Force. Now
Really?
yeah, quite a few wonderful Christians that I ran into. Um, some I can think of a couple people that just despise Christians, and they were very adamant about it. They didn't even try to hide it. But by and large, it's has some great squadron commanders, great leaders that were Christians. And again, like I say, government, you have to be careful of the government because, we obviously we don't endorse any specific religion, but it was clear you knew they were Christians and they were not ashamed of it. And that was, I'd say, predominant through the Air Force, probably more some were Jewish faith too, not as many, but there were some Jewish faith, and but again, mostly Christians, and it was nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, it was not like you had to hide it. It's hard to you think sometimes military that that's maybe not compatible to Christian, but overall it was a part of being an officer, and it was again not a problem. I mean, there were some that were obviously not. You could tell they kind of just had uh, I don't know. I guess we're just despised Christianity, and they kind of didn't hide it. But by and large, no, that wasn't a problem.
Oh, that's awesome. I've always kind of wondered about that. Um, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
How did the experience in your Air Force career, did that come into writing the book as well?
It did.
Does that translate to space? And
The veteran part. There's a lot of when you deploy. I like to tell people we don't go to where you see on the tourist brochures. Usually not the best parts of the world when we deploy, and you have a lot of time by yourself. So a lot of time to read. Kind of get creative. We call them war stories, things that happen. Which, by the way, if you ever hear a war story, only 10% of it has to be true, and it's okay. So, a lot of embezzlement, a lot of inflation, if you will, or exaggeration. Um, but that there are actual, no kidding, war stories in the book where things that I had experienced on deployments, and I would credit the guys if I knew who kind of were with it, but I don't remember who they were. But things from that. So that it is. I think veterans would really love the book because there's a lot of being the military in there. It did translate, and my protagonist was in the what I call the aerospace force, but it's been dissolved. So it's gone. America is again not doing too well in this book, and that the aerospace force that he was part of has been gone. And but it did, yes, definitely. To answer your question, yes, it definitely played part of the writing.
cool. And to know that there's some like true experience type stories in there. That sounds like a lot of fun. Um,
10%. Yeah.
10, yeah, 10%, 10%. How do you navigate writing fiction? Like to me, my book is based on my experience. And so writing something that is completely, has never existed before, how do you even come up with things like that?
Um, a lot of it is just reading. I've read my whole life. Everything from the classics, Calvin and Hobbes. When my kids were growing up, if there's a Calvin and Hobbes strip, I've read it to my son, my younger son. I've read every. I promise you, every one of them I've read. God, they're hilarious. But so a lot of things: science fiction, history, alternate fiction. My third book is alternate fiction. Got the first draft on it done. Um, and fiction really, what I like about fiction is you can use your imagination. If you're writing that you do, like pottery, I know if you're writing pottery, you can't really just create stuff. You pretty much have to have a foundation. Here's how you do it, because you just can't pull it out of thin air. You've got to know exactly. With fiction, you don't have to footnote it. You don't have to, and a lot of times too. In my case, I have technology and nano nuclear engines. I don't know what a nano nuclear engine is. They don't exist yet. But fortunately for me, I'm writing 80 years in the future. We'll have them. Trust me, they'll be there. So fiction gives you a lot of ability to use your imagination and to come up with what you want to say it in the way you want to, that you're not bound by current events or reality or what's already happened. So I really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. It was, and the book really, I did not, the book ended where I didn't know where it was going to be. I had a plan, I scoped it out, had it, and it really kind of created its own, kind of came a life of its own and kind of moved in a direction, and that Christianity being part of that I didn't expect when I first started writing it.
That's awesome. Does the next book you're writing, is that like a sequel to the book that already is out?
Not yet. I This one was actually three books in one. I wrote it in three parts, and it was initially Defiance Press is the out of Texas published it. It was initially going to be three books, but then they just lumped it for marketing, I guess, put it all into one big book. The second book was already with Defiance and is in the editing phase. It's Christmas Above the Clouds, and this one again, I felt called to write this one, and I literally drafted. It took 3 years, over 3 years, to write the first one. Now it's big, but this Christmas Above the Clouds, I wrote literally in just a little over 2 weeks before Christmas. I wanted to get it out on my blog before Christmas, and so I scrambled through it. Now, of course, I refined it a little afterwards, but I had to get it for the timing to get it out before this Christmas. I had to get it to them. So, and it's an illustrated fiction, where it's based off of a World War II story. An elderly gentleman, he's having dementia, and he tells a supernatural Christian story on Christmas Day that he flew a mission that he never told anybody. And there's some like a couple of stories kind of similar to it. See here, A Higher Call is a wonderful book, by the way. Probably well, if you're into aviation, you might have heard of it. A German pilot saved a B-17 in World War II. It's a true story based off of he was a Catholic, and he just wasn't going to shoot this injured B-17. It was murder, so he didn't do it. A great story. Wonderful, wonderful gentleman, both the American pilot and the German pilot. And there's a Shepherd, which is a fictional story, a Christmas story. I kind of used those, put them together, and came up with this. As again, Christmas Above the Clouds. It's a I'll give away a little bit of this. It's an angel in a red triplane. If you're familiar with flying, red triplanes, the Red Baron. But it's a Christian book, and it's Christian. It's kind of like Polar Express, where I've got a write and I've got the illustrated to go with it. And that's the
Mm.
second book. And the third book, which is I've just got through the first draft on, is that's all alternative history, and that's Red Tails of Dixie, and that deals with the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. It's an alternate fiction of that, and I really like the story. And some people are not going to be too crazy about me writing it. I don't think I'm going to. Some people won't think I should be writing it, but I think it's a wonderful story, and this is America, so they were airmen. I'm an airman. I feel obligated that I'm qualified to write it.
Yeah. So your Christmas book comes out this year then,
Yeah, hopefully be out in November.
end of
Yeah,
November.
Christmas.
Perfect time.
I initially called it. My name was the Luther Rose of Martin, the Christmas Rose of Martin Luther. But the editors and people who know what they're doing for really says, hey, a better story. They gave me a couple of names, and Christmas Above the Clouds, an angel in a red triplane is what it's going to be now. And again, I kind of like Polar Express, where it'll be illustrated fiction,
Awesome.
and
Who
it
did
is.
the illustrations?
Yeah, I'll have the words, and kind of like Polar Express, you'll have an image to go along with the words, and it is a Christian book. It is a Christmas miracle story.
Oh, nice. Did you do the illustrations or do you know who did?
I hate to say I use AI. I
Mm.
was talking to a friend of mine in Australia. He had some paintings done by an Australian artist, and they were beautiful. And I talked to him, but to get this out, he just couldn't get them out, and he was already had projects going on. So I used Adobe Firefly. Now my editors will use something else. So it's one of those things you kind of hate to do, but I can get it out the door, and I'm on a limited budget. So that's the other.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That
Well, and like we've been talking, like that is the future of the world, right? So how was that program? Did you find it easy to use, and were you able to get the results that you expected?
Yes and no. Yes and no. AI. for people, I've got a computer science background now. I'm dated. I'm not an AI expert, no way, shape, or form. But AI is dumb as a sack of rocks. I mean, it's not the Terminator. It's not going to take the world over. It is all AI is very, very fast computers with a massive amount of data that it can get to. But it's AI is not doing anything you couldn't do if you had time and the software to do it. It just does it super fast. And if you're familiar, if you've seen any, like they're building data centers, they're all being built by like bodies of water because they are use tons of energy and they create a lot of heat. So again, that's what AI is. It's just super fast with able to draw a lot of data in, but it's dumb as a sack of rocks. I mean, it's not doing anything that a human couldn't do. It's just able to do it much faster. So the program itself, yeah, you tell it something. Sometimes it's brilliant. You come right up. I say, I want a P-38 Lightning, old World War II fighter, and it's got two engines on it. Wow, oh, beautiful, great. Next time you do it, it's got one engine in the back, and it's got the tails all crooked. So I mean, it was very it was it's if you get worked with it and you kind of got the questions right, which I think that's the key, trying to figure out how to put it in language it understands. Um, but I recommend your audience to definitely start. You can give Grok. A lot of them are free. You can start messing with them. Copilot, I believe, because uh, your job's going to depend on it. It's not, it will take jobs. There's no doubt about it. Every technology takes jobs. That's been that way since the Industrial Revolution. So unfortunately, there is a bad side to any new technology, but there's also a good side. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't get some really wonderful advances in medical technology from this, because again, it can just do everything so fast and put it together. It will be able to look at things that we might have some great medical breakthroughs from it. So I think AI will be wonderful in that way. But again, it will be bad. Every technology has some bad with it. Here's a for my blog. I was trying to use the elevator operators. Did you realize we also had people operate elevators?
Oh, yeah, like who would push the buttons for you?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
or
that
run the
cracks me
crank.
up.
It was manual, they'd run it. And I was going to use an example like, hey, don't be the last elevator operator. Well, it turns out there's still like 100 of them in New York City. There's still,
Oh,
I was like, well, there wasn't my story when I started researching it, but there are a handful of elevators, but there's not many of them left. There used to be all over the place. So, yeah, so my thing to your audience would be, don't be scared of AI. I mean, learn to use it because depending on your job, you'll want to incorporate it. I mean, it's no different than using the spell check on a word processor. Are you cheating there? Well, yeah. Mark Twain would probably say we're cheating, but he would use it if he had it. I promise you. So yeah,
no, those are great points. Yeah, it's you can't get left behind, right? You
yeah,
can't
yeah. Now writing
just
AI write the story for you. Now that crosses the line. Having
mhm.
AI do your spell check or have it. Have hey. The only time I really used AI in writing was a little introduction I did to Apollo Wept, and I had again this was more again on time. I had a mini chapter on the love interest of my protagonist, and she's telling her story, and I just said, "Hey, I make it sound like a female." So I looked at that, and then I didn't use that verbatim, but I looked at it, and it allowed me to improve my writing, because again, I was in a hurry to get that out the door so we could get it published before my first book, and say it was great for that. And if you're writing a book or if you're writing a letter for work, AI would be a great tool. And I don't let it write it because it'll put some stupid stuff in there, but it gives you another opinion that you can look at and go, yeah, I like that. I'll incorporate that in and try to change it around a little. But I know that in
Yeah.
particular is a really big, I guess, for some that any AI they think is you're cheating, I guess, if you will. Or
I think that's the key to find out where the ethics are, you know?
yeah,
And then, but like your book, there, our ethics are slowly, the lines are getting pretty blurred. So it's going to be tricky, I think, how we use AI in the future and what that looks like. I mean, we're already seeing it with like students, right? It's writing their papers and whatnot. So how do we
yeah.
prevent them from doing that, or do we use that to the advantage of, oh, now we don't have to memorize so much stuff because we can just look it up. We really need to focus on teaching, I don't know, something else, It's interesting to talk about, and it kind
Huge,
of leads into your book.
yeah, huge challenge. And uh, in the Air Force, my flying training, in the Air Force, was the navigator training. We could not use a calculator. We had to do all our math by hand. Now, once you
Ooh,
got once you got out of training, then obviously if you need a calculator, by all means use it. But they did not want you, they wanted you to know the basics, know how to do it. It mainly addition and subtraction. It wasn't really hard, but when you're in a little pressure trying to get it out pretty quick, you can make math errors, which I have made plenty. But it was, I mean, they wanted you to learn the basics, and I think that's, at me personally, education. They should, still do that. You don't need to be writing a paper with AI. You need to be writing your paper. Now, when you get older, yeah, use it, but you need to be able to write it yourself. Are you a Star Trek fan?
Star Trek. I have not seen those, I admit. I've seen some Star Wars.
Okay, Star
So
Wars.
I
The,
know those
the,
are two like very different camps, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. If you're really into that, there's some. I'm a Star Trek original, the original episodes of my age, but the Next Generation, which I didn't watch, I watched some, but not a lot. But one episode they had is they intercept a ship of just people who can't run their ship. Their ship runs itself and it breaks, and they're totally clueless, and they're trying to help them out because they have no ability, and that's the danger of AI. If you start having AI do everything, that's a very kind of, I thought that was a prescient episode that, if you start everybody just, your technology starts running itself and no one can fix it, well, eventually it's going to break and you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. I have seen all of the Matrix movies. I will say I love those. And
Yeah.
I
I love
relate
them.
to that.
I love
Yeah.
them. My wife don't, but I do. Yeah.
No, I'm the same way and I'm like, no, the technology can't like start doing all that crazy stuff. So, science fiction. But
Yeah.
in your book, how you create this kind of, would you consider it dystopian world or
Yes, yes,
okay, so
it's a very dystopian America. We're broke, which we're kind of broke today, but we don't fix our budget, so we're broke. It started in 2104. We're broke. We're totally embarrassed of our past. We've done a lot of things wrong in our past, and they're in my book. Anything wrong in this world, this dystopian world, if it's something we've done wrong, and there's plenty, we highlight that. But everything we've done good is erased. We're trying to erase because we're embarrassed of our past. So everything, and I bring up a lot of what we've done wrong in our nation. My ship is called Despair. The sister ship to it, which comes in later, is the Jim Crow. So I mean, so I pick
hmm,
some of the things that just our country, we are have done wrong, and I highlight them in the book because that's what this world has become. Because we're shamed of our past, and the third one is we're obsessed with identity politics, which again I think we're kind of moving the other way. But when I was writing this, and I like to tell people, we were moving away from Martin Luther King Jr.'s, where the content of your character matters more than the color of your skin or your sexual orientation or anything else. And for a while, our nation we haven't totally went away from it, but we were going away from that, where we were trying to put people into camps and into tribes, and personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we were moved away from his dream, and I really think we were almost there, and then we seem to fall off the rails and start going the other direction. But
yeah, whenever you create an us versus them type situation, it's not
yeah,
a
and
good
I
idea.
do every American is in the book is identified by their sexual orientation, their identified gender, and their color of skin, and because that's how this America, this dystopian America that I wrote the book, that's how they treat everybody. And again, obviously the particularly with this AI intellect from the 20th century kind of helps the protagonist start moving away from that, if you will, and
Hmm.
that's kind of the crux of the theme of the story, I guess.
Do you see that as like your predictions for America? I know you mentioned it's satire too,
Yeah.
but is that kind of where you're coming from, or were you just purely fiction on that?
I the scenario again, I call the scenario unhinged. So it was like I think the worst case, and I'm an optimist. I don't know if he said it or not. I used to have all these great quotes, and then the internet came out, and you don't know if they say them or not because people go, "Oh no, he didn't say that." But I had these things I thought they said, and one was Winston Churchill, and he goes, "America will do the right thing after they have exhausted all the other alternatives," or something along that line. He goes, "We'll eventually do the right thing," and I think that's very true. We'll mess up, we'll do things wrong, but in the end, I think America will correct itself. So I am an optimist. I think the world I created won't come to pass, and I hope my book was. I kind of wrote it the idea of hoping it would not come to pass, so that I could get this out and kind of a satire and say if we keep on this path, this is where we could head up, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, so more of a warning then. Um, when did you feel like you made it as an author?
I'll tell you when I get there. I well, I don't know about you, but it's I I've done I've been, oh man, what's the word? Uh, Done some things in my life that I'm not too prideful, but very, very proud that I was able to accomplish. Did some things that I was very, very fortunate, and I had a lot of help, tons of help. Wonderful parents. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my parents and help along the way. But writing a book is one that is really kind of the top of the list because it's really a lot of people want to write. It's hard to do. It's hard to get it out and get it incoherent. I didn't go with a major publisher. I don't know if you tried. I sent like four or five, never heard back from any of them. So Defiance is a hybrid. I think they said they accept about 18%. But so they have skin in the game. I have skin in the game, which is I think probably the more the model of the. I know you're not. Is it Prince Harry or Prince William? I keep forgetting. I can't remember which one it is, but one of them wrote a book and is a bestseller on day one. Of course, he has a ghostwriter and everything else. Unless you're married, unless your name's Prince William or you're Beyonce or or something like that, you're not going to sell a bestseller right up front. So, but yeah, that I would, I feel very honored to have got to write it. But am I an author yet? That's wow, that's a big one.
So you've gotten a book published, you have one coming out, and you're on a third book.
Okay.
I would say you're a writer.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's something again. It's something I've been thinking about for years, and when you get that first book in your hand, I'm sure you remember it. It's like hey, this is quite a good feeling.
yeah. What made you take the leap to really put your dream into reality?
I promise this family, my good friends, their parents, doctors, Ballesteros, and they would tell me after my Christmas newsletters, they say you have got to write. And I promised them when I got out of the Air Force, I said I will write. And unfortunately, they both have since passed. But I promised them I would, and I wanted to keep that promise. And it came to me. I say when that statue of Lincoln came down, that's when I finally came up. I said, man, where would we be? And that's why I came up with this absurd idea of us chasing down this probe that's out of the solar system to go change a plaque on it because we're embarrassed of it and we can't have that thing staining the galaxy with our bigotry and our whatever have you. So that's where I came up with the idea. Started kind of researching how to write, reading the books, how to write a novel, how not to write a novel. That's a good book. How not to write a novel, I think's the name of it. Started scoping things out, and then just started writing. I don't know about you. I sent a couple drafts out to people, got some feedback, and later I looked at them and go, man, those are terrible. Man, why did I send that out? I'm like, oh, I don't do that again. I don't send early drafts out anymore. So that was bad. They'd be like, ooh, man, ooh, don't want to read this. No.
Yeah, you never know what you don't know until you learn it, though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That is the story of everybody's life. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
When you do it,
And
you'll learn. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Okay, I know this is off the wall, but I have to ask now. So you've got a space book.
Mhm.
Are there aliens?
Not in this one. Not in this
Mm,
one. No. No, it's again Voyager is just outside our solar system, and it takes some years to get there. But there are no aliens. There's a little humor I put in there when he comes up to Voyager. He doesn't know what he's going to see. The captain, he's in the and he goes, man, what am I going to do if this is not our probe? He starts thinking, like, oh man, what am I going to do if this was built by somebody else out here? But there are no aliens. No.
okay. I just had to ask after all
Yeah,
of the.
that would.
Who knows?
That would, yeah, 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 that's interesting. That'd be something to write. That'd be something to write. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like with Voyager, I'm just always fascinated. Like, humanity has to conquer, you know?
Mhm.
So, like, even if there's nothing else out there, we have to prove as humans that we did the thing, even
Yeah.
though there's no one to prove it to.
Yeah.
But I was
I
like,
mean, the
well,
odds of
I
that
don't
being
know.
found, if now, I personally, I mean, if you want to go there, I suspect there are other intelligent life forms somewhere. I can't believe God created this massive universe with just us. I would assume, and I did write a blog on that. That I think possibly in my lifetime, and I bet in yours, we're probably going to get either a radio wave or our telescopes will see something that goes out and go, that is not made in nature. So I really think we will find that, of course, now if we see it, it's hundreds or thousands of years old, depending on how far away it was. But I would not be surprised if we do not find that, in the future here shortly, that there are other civilizations on other planets. And I can already, I would bet the people that are very again anti-religious will go there. That's proof right there that there is no God right here, and the Bible never says anything about that. So I mean, to me, that will not prove anything one way or the other. I mean, but I can promise you there'll be people trying to say, "There goes your Bible." No, the Bible does not say we're not the only ones here. So. I mean, that's something that I expect to happen. But personally, I think there are probably out there. I don't think they've been here, or again, just to the distances and everything. But unless there's something way to travel we don't understand. But how do we get on that? Yeah, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think, like you said, the Bible never says one way or another. So there could be a possibility of something out there. Like you said, the universe doesn't end, which already blows my mind. So
Oh yeah.
anything's possible. And I just kind of like tell myself when the world feels too big, I'm like, well, the Bible just says to focus on Earth, you know?
Yeah, it
Let's
was.
just focus here.
I'm not a theologian, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's not a science book. If it was a
Right.
science book, I'm sure it would say, "Hey, boil water, guys. Don't drink water unless you boil it." I think God never intended it to be a science manual. Now, it does have
Mhm.
science in it. Like the Big Bang. As far as we know, that's how the universe started, and that's pretty much what Genesis says. So, there is some science in it, but again, it was not a. I don't. It was intended to know God and to tell us about God, and not to give us the how He built the universe, which we'll never understand anyway. But I'm with you, and when you look at that too, just our planets at the right distance from the sun, even the tilt of the angles right. Our location in the galaxy gets us away from a lot of bad things that are in the center. So you look at it and go, man, that's a lot of miracles and accidents. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think when you look at the science of it there, and I know a lot of people like to think, well, if you believe in science, you can't believe in religion. And no, they're not incompatible. They're not at all.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah. Um, it's crazy to think about that, how
No,
small
it
we are.
is. We will never. Our minds just goes tilt. Just can't like you say. It doesn't stop. It doesn't end, and just things our mind just can't comprehend. But we didn't build the universe, so.
That's true. And that just leads to even more opportunities for your fiction writing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, definitely, definitely. I do hope. I don't know how many more books I'll get out. I guess it depends on how these first three do. But yeah, I'm always. And I know I'm sure about that. I need to keep a pen because you come up with a great idea, and then like, oh man, what was that idea again? And I need to write these down before I forget them. But there's a lot of them along that line that you could definitely go to have a great time writing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're coming to the end, but thank you so much for joining me. This has been a great conversation.
It's been my pleasure. It's been very enjoyable. I tell you, it sounds like we're sitting around the couch here just having a chat. It's
I
been a
know, I know.
yeah.
We'll have to do this again. But until then, what would you leave with the listeners? Any kind of encouragement, advice? Floor is yours.
Yeah, yeah. For those who are wanting to write, I would say just get it started. You know, half of anything, and I learned this early in the Air Force. A lot of people smarter than me, that half of anything is just showing up. So it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a new job, you're starting school, trying to write a book, just show up. Now you're halfway there, right there, just by showing up and trying. Don't quit. Just get going, um, and you're going to fail. Um, you learn by failing. You don't learn by winning. You learn by failing, and you learn from it. You go forward, and failing. You haven't failed as long as you keep going forward. You just had a setback. You only fail when you quit. So that would be something I would tell people going on, no matter what you're doing. That is the biggest one. Just don't quit, keep going, and if it's your dream, pursue it. Be realistic about your dreams. I know, like in particular, a lot of writers. You want to love to write, great, write, but you need to have a plan B or not. You probably going to need something else to keep you financially viable or to keep your family going. Not saying don't write, but you just don't think you're going to start writing on day one or anything, music or art or always have something to fall back on and something and carry on. And then you can do your dream on the side. And we get my age, you can now start spending more time on it. That would be the biggest thing. I would say, and for I hate giving a lot of Christian advice because I am a Christian. I've been one since I'm 15, but I'm not an expert on it. But don't be ashamed of being a Christian, and don't you don't have to go out and sell it. You don't have to play better than anyone else. Just you be yourself, be what you know you're supposed to be, what we've been taught to be, and people will see you in that. And that's the biggest thing in your life. Treat others like you want them to treat you, and that'll go a long way. And then whether they treat you like that or not. This one guy I told you about, I remember in the Air Force, he just despised Christians, and I usually have a prayer for him every time I say a prayer. I say a prayer driving to work, and I always have him and his family because hopefully he'll get reached and he'll get her out of that, and I pray for him. So, um, yeah, that's I guess that's the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great words right there.
Well,
Well, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day until we talk again.
you too. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.